Welcome back to another segment of Behind the Scenes of the Waltons. Today I'm talking about episode 7 from season 3, The System, directed by Harry Harris. If you're enjoying these, please do hit like and subscribe. In The System, John Boy is asked by his teacher at Boatwright if he will help fellow student Tom Povich. Tom is on a football scholarship and is in danger of failing the class. John Boy, of course, says that he would be happy to. The character of Tom Povich was played by actor Richard Masur, and you will recognize Richard from all sorts of different shows, including time on One Day at a Time. I think he did some soap operas, but he was just one of those wonderful character actors that popped up all over the place and was just really great to work with. I always enjoy watching scenes that are of the period, in this case, a football practice, the old style uniforms and equipment, which didn't protect the players nearly as much as today's equipment does. So this was kind of fun to watch. And I found myself wondering where they shot this. There wasn't really a football field anywhere on the Warner Brothers lot. I'm thinking it might have been over on the Columbia Ranch, Warner Brothers sort of sister lot, where they did certain exteriors, including the outside of the Baldwin sisters' house, and it was used at different times. So I think there was a sort of grassy field area, and perhaps the bleachers that you see were even, erected just for this scene. So that's my best guess on where it was. Otherwise, they went someplace to some local school and used their field. I have mentioned before about Harry Harris being a director who always was dealing with animals, and how we coined the phrase, "What are we going to do about those chickens?" Which someone suggested we put on a t-shirt. That is a tempting idea. In this case, here is Grandma bringing a chicken out of the chicken pen. This is going to be dinner. Grandpa comes up, sneaks a kiss, and the chicken gets away. She's none too happy with him. She tries to catch it. They try to catch it. All the kids are trying to catch it. So a lot of fun chasing around the chicken until John Boy arrives with Tom, who is going to be spending the evening at the Walton house. We had a lot of fun as Tom was supposed to be a football player. All of the Waltons sort of get involved in playing football, and Tom is sort of helping initially the boys. Here you see John throw a football, not terribly well, and Tom is then instructing him and instructing Ben how to handle a football, how to throw it. So I liked watching the boys play. A little bit later on, a game is put together where the boys, including John, Ralph Waite, and Mary Ellen is the only one of the girls playing football. How appropriate, being the tomboy of the family. And I loved being able to be a part of any sort of sports things that were happening. So there's a number of different sequences where we're, going after different points and the teams. And we get a wonderful shot here in the huddle where Harry Harris chose to put the camera right in the middle of the huddle, shooting up. Great shot. A little later on, you just see a variety of different sorts of things. Somebody hits Jim Bob, he rolls down on the ground, and then at one point I kind of play dodge the tree with Tom and managed to get away with the football and run on down and score a touchdown. I did notice that most of us were barefoot, so out playing football in the front yard, barefoot. Why not? During the episode at one point, Grandma goes down into the root cellar. I don't remember how far into that root cellar someone could go or how much room there was down in there. So when Grandma gets down in there and finds Ben in there, Ben is down there. He's going to be smoking tobacco, but he manages to hide it away. But I kind of wondered I don't think this was big enough to shoot down there, so I think they created the actual root cellar set someplace else, possibly on the soundstage. And there's a moment as Ellen enters the root cellar where the camera catches a bit of the sky, and those trees that you see right there, I don't think those trees were the kind of trees that we would have had within sight of the opening of that root cellar on the back lot of the studio. So that kind of made me think that this was actually shot somewhere else. John Boy has helped Tom prepare for a test at school. Now it is time for the test, and The students are informed that everyone is on the honor system. The teacher will be leaving the room, and the students are honor bound to report any student they see cheating, looking at another student's papers or anything like that. And they must sign a pledge at the end of their exam saying that they did not cheat on this exam, on their honor. John Boy happens to see Tom look over at the paper of the student next to him. Tom looks at John Boy, sees that John Boy saw him, and also sees that a student just off to the side of John Boy saw this exchange as well. So now John Boy's in an awkward position. He does not want to turn in Tom, who he knows worked really hard and was really prepared for this test. Tom insists that John Boy turn him in because he knows the other student also saw John Boy, and if John Boy does not turn him in, then John Boy will also be guilty and will be likewise in danger of being expelled from school. So Tom says, no, we must, and he insists that he and John Boy go to the honor system, the people who run the honor system, and report themselves. And they do. And the other young man is there, so in fact, it did make a difference that they came and reported that, or John Boy would be in trouble as well. While speaking with the team that leads the student honor system, John Boy says that he wants to speak for Tom at the hearing, that he does have the right to have a hearing. And although Tom has said he is guilty, he is allowed to have someone speak in his defense. And John Boy says that he wants to speak on Tom's behalf. Jason thinks that Ben has been acting rather suspicious, so he's been sort of keeping an eye on him, and he sees Ben in the smokehouse smoking a cigarette. How appropriate, smoking in the smokehouse. I don't think that's what the smokehouse was designed to smoke. Anyway, Jason isn't quite sure what he should do about this, so he goes to Grandpa, who is in the garden weeding corn or picking corn or whatever. Interesting side note that I understand that Will Gear was the one who planted this little cornfield there on the back lot and tended it. Anyway, Jason asks Grandpa what he should do. Grandpa gets out of Jason that it is Ben he's seen smoking. Jason doesn't know if he should tell Daddy, because he remembers when Daddy caught Jason smoking that he made Jason eat like a whole pack of cigarettes or something. Grandpa says, leave it with him and he'll give it some thought. I love how the next scene is John Boy arriving at the house with Tom, driving his car into the scene. And I love how Harry Harris set this up so that we see the car arriving through the corn stalks. And it really just linked these two scenes together. Another option would have been instead of through the corn stalks to have cut at the end of the scene with Grandpa and then reset the camera someplace else to capture the car coming in. The car could have come in from the same direction. You might have seen Grandpa off in the background of the scene, or the car could have come in over near where the lumber mill was. So there were various different options. I loved this choice that Harry Harris made. Grandpa has come up with a plan for Ben and invites him to go fishing. As they are at the pond fishing, and their lines are in the water, Grandpa pulls out a pack of cigarettes and lights one up. Ben is surprised to see Grandpa smoke, and I don't know that we ever saw Grandpa smoke any other time. And in fact, he says that he did give it up many years ago. But he offers one to Ben and insists that Ben try it. He says, I'm sure you're curious and, you should try it. And then he insists that Ben inhale enough to practice blowing smoke rings. So in essence, he gets Ben to smoke enough that Ben feels quite ill. And it does indeed work as a deterrent to Ben to ever want to have a cigarette again. Tom has explained to the family basically what happened. He admits what he did, and they talk about it. Mary Ellen pipes in with accusations to John Boy that he never should have turned his friend in. What kind of friend is he? But others are more rational and realize the situation that John Boy was in, and Tom, in fact, defends John Boy and says no, he had to, or he would have been expelled as well. And then John and Tom and John Boy and some of the others, the grown-ups, discuss how they might approach John Boy defending Tom, what he can say, and some ideas are thrown out and discarded. John does offer to go and speak on Tom's behalf about how hard he was studying and working and preparing for the test. Ultimately, they head off on their own on Monday morning for this hearing. John Boy addresses the panel, and he has come up with an idea, an approach that he can take, and he basically lays out what Tom's purpose is for going to school, that he is not looking to leave this small mining town that he is from, but rather to go back there and help the miners. He wants to go to law school and be a lawyer to help the various different miners there and help to make their life better. So John Boy feels that the purpose he has for being in school, and the fact that he didn't actually change his answer. Tom speaks and says he never changed his answer. He just got scared and he looked to see if the other person next to him had the same answer. The person did, he said, but even if he didn't, he would not have changed the answer. Tom's father has arrived with John, and his father stands up and says, if he says he didn't cheat, he didn't. He doesn't lie. And his father had felt that Tom didn't belong here, didn't belong in school, that he should take him back home. And after seeing this and seeing John Boy speak on behalf of Tom and hearing about the purpose that Tom has for being in school, the father also feels that Tom is where he belongs. Ultimately, the panel decides to lessen the offense from a major offense to a minor offense. So he will have a week of suspension from classes, but then will be able to continue in class. So it is a celebratory moment for John Boy, for Tom, and the whole family. Thank you for joining me for this segment of Behind the Scenes of the Waltons. I will be back with more Behind the Scenes of the Waltons and more Ask Judy. Thanks for watching.